Hey, everybody. Today we're going to talk about calculating cash flow for your rental properties the right way. Before we do, please hit subscribe to my channel and check out a message from my sponsor, The Motley Fool, where you can get the top 10 stocks to buy right now at fool.com/Frankel. So, when you buy a rental property, there are two ways people hope to make money from them. One is equity appreciation as the mortgage gets paid down or the house price goes up, and from cash flow. Cash flow is the reason that you can actually make some income off of rental properties. A lot of people's retirement strategies have to do with owning rental properties and making some cash flow to help pay for living expenses, things like that. So, cash flow is defined as the property's income minus all of its expenses, which sounds easy enough to calculate, but there's a lot more to it. So, different investors have different cash flow expectations. There's no such thing as what's a good cash flow, what's a bad cash flow. As a younger investor who doesn't rely on his properties for income, I generally just want my properties to break even. In the meantime, and a lot of investors won't buy a property unless it's producing, say, $200 a unit in cash flow per month. So, whatever your personal cash flow goals are, knowing how to properly estimate your cash flow can help save you from problems down the road and unexpected losses on rental properties. So, on that note, it's very important to use conservative estimates when it comes to rental properties. Now, it might sound strange that I'm talking about estimates because most of the costs and incomes that you expect from your rental properties are fixed. So, in a perfect world, your property would stay occupied 100% of the time. You'd collect rent every month. The tenants would never miss a payment. You'd never have to evict somebody. And the property would never need a repair or any maintenance at all. Of course, that is not the real world. So you can't just, one of the big rookie mistakes you see people make, you can't just take the property's income and subtract the mortgage payment and say, okay, this is what my cash flow is going to be, because it's not. If you do that, you're setting yourself up to lose money on your rental properties. So don't make that mistake. Don't make the mistake of overestimating or oversimplifying what cash flow you're going to get from your property, because you are going to be let down. So, two things in particular: you need to estimate and set money aside each month to account for vacancies and maintenance. Because one, your property is not going to be occupied 100% of the time. It's just not. Maybe a tenant moves out and it needs a few weeks to turn it over before it can be re-rentable. Maybe it'll sit on the market for a month or two if the real estate market's weak. Whatever the case, your property will be vacant at some point in time. And for maintenance, things go wrong on rental properties. Even if you have a brand new home that you're renting out, things can and do go wrong from time to time. And just routine maintenance needs to take place to prevent big things from going wrong down the road. So the exact amount you should set aside depends on what type the rental is and its condition. As a general rule of thumb, the range is 5 to 15% of the rent each month for each of those. So for vacancies and for maintenance. If you think about maintenance, 5% might be appropriate for a brand new house. 15% might be more appropriate for something that's 70 years old and has things going wrong a lot. So for simplicity's sake, for the average rental property, say 10% for vacancies, 10% for maintenance should be a good amount. So let's say that you buy a duplex and it brings in a total of $2,000 per month in rent. You have a $1,200 mortgage payment, $1,200, and pay 10% of the rent or $200 to a property manager. So your fixed expenses are $1,400 a month. So a rookie real estate investor might say, okay, $2,000 minus $1,400 is $600 a month in cash flow. Not the case. Let's say the property is average age and in a strong real estate market, so we can say that those 10% multipliers apply for vacancy and maintenance. So your actual cash flow estimate might look something like this. If your rent is $2,000 a month, your mortgage payment, including principal, interest, taxes, and insurance, is $1,200 a month. You're paying $200 to a property manager. We are allowing $200 a month or 10% of the rent for vacancies. another 10% or $200 a month for maintenance, and your cash flow estimate is $200 per month, not the $600 it might seem from your fixed expenses. So by using an accurate and conservative cash flow estimate like this, you're putting yourself in a position to know exactly what to expect and which properties are more likely to actually produce income for you. Now, that $400 a month that you have set aside going to vacancies and maintenance, that's almost $5,000 a year. If you end up not needing most of it, then great. At the end of the day, you'll have more money in your business account, and you'll have more money at the back end of it. But if something does go wrong, if your property does sit vacant for, say, 3 months, or if you do need a big maintenance item, let's say the roof unexpectedly needs to be replaced, you'll be really happy that you set aside a certain amount of the rent each month for vacancies and maintenance. So, just a couple things to remember before we close out. So, cash flow estimation, it can be a valuable tool when identifying the best rental properties to buy. It can be really hard to get an apples to apples comparison of a rental property from an investor's perspective. Because when you're looking at rental properties, it's not the same as looking for a primary residence, in that you are looking for things that you like what does the kitchen look like? What do the bathrooms look like? It's more of a dollars and cents question. And by a cash flow estimation, that's something that you can control. Unlike the appreciation of the property over time, which is honestly anybody's guess these days. What's the property going to be worth in 5 years and 10 years? Nobody knows. But cash flow is something you can estimate reasonably accurately and conservatively in order to get a good apples to apples comparison of rental properties on your radar. However, be sure to remember that these are just estimates. It's entirely possible that maintenance on a rental property can exceed 10% of the rent. Vacancy can exceed 10% of the rent in a bad real estate market. So it's important to have adequate reserves in place at the time you purchase and don't plan on just building them up over time. I conservatively like to have a year's worth of rental income in the bank when I buy a new property. So if a property is bringing in $2,000 a month, multiply that by 12, $2,400 a month is what I like to have conservatively in just my just in case reserves when I buy a property. And that's after doing whatever initial repairs and maintenance I have to do. So it's important to have those reserved and expect nonlinear cash flow over time. We estimated in that example that your cash flow is going to be $200 a month. That's an average over time. And it depends on, from month to month, it can vary. Hopefully it varies in your favor over time as property values increase, rental income increases, and your mortgage payment stays the same. But it's important for investors in rental properties to expect cash flow to fluctuate over time. One of the biggest misconceptions that people who are going to own rental properties have is that it's perfectly passive and consistent income, and that's just not the case. But it can be a great way to build wealth over time. So I'm hoping nothing I said today discourages you from investing in real estate, but rather gives you a better way to analyze properties and set yourself up for success better. Please leave me any comments you have, and please subscribe to my channel to keep up with all of my content. I'm planning on doing a lot more real estate videos over the coming months, so I would love for you to join me on this journey. Once again, thank you so much for joining me. Be sure to click subscribe if you don't subscribe to my channel already. And as always, this video is sponsored by The Motley Fool. Be sure to visit www.fool.com/Frankel to receive the top 10 best stocks to buy now.